Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Welcome everyone to another fantastic episode of the Mythos Busters. This is episode 73. I'm Scott, not usually the guy introducing the show, because Sean is away. And when he's away, the Cats of Uthar shall play. Also here, I know that was terrible, Nick!
Hi.
How are you, Nick?
I'm good. You should have said when the cat is away, the Zoogs will play.
I guess.
But you also forgot what Zoogs were, as you and I discovered about 10 minutes ago, so...
Maybe I did. Maybe I did. Also with us is Ian.
Hello.
Hello, Ian.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Oh, you know, not bad. I'm ready to go in deep on these cards today, so...
Oh, me too. I'm so
I
excited.
got my latex gloves on. It's time for the deep dive.
Ready to shove your hand in that box.
That's how you do card analysis,
boy.
right?
If I could just get all the cards to turn their heads and talk.
Jeez.
On the show today, we've got a little bit of news, some Patreon updates, or I guess recaps. But our big topic today is the Dream Eaters box. So we're going to do a deep dive into the Dream Eaters. Before we get to all of that, Ian, what have you been playing in Arkham?
Well, sadly, not as much as I would like. I've been working on other stuff, so I have not played anything other than a single game of Arkham since last time we recorded. But I was giving a try of Solo Silas, which is a solo... investigator that I've not tried yet. I've only played him in 2-player, and I'm about halfway through a game, so verdict pending. But so far he's not as terrible on the clues as I expected, which well, I shouldn't say as I expected, because I think after my experience with Rita, who's another survivor with 2 intellect, I kind of saw that it's possible to get by. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think he has some of the same kind of tools as Rita, so I think if I was successful with Rita, he should be fine, but we'll see.
Survivor has a couple of good tricks for cheating clues off of locations, so I think there's enough. I don't think you can rely on it, but I think there's enough to at least get your engine going until you're able to find more intellect icons or get something in play that you need or something like that.
Yeah, and the average scenario is you're expecting you to get like what do you think is the average amount of clues in solo? Like
6, 8,
6 to 8, something like that.
Yeah. I think I usually aim for. I want to get 8, so I aim for like 12 clues. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's enough like kind of tricks in the card pool that you can cheat. You know, maybe half of that. And the one thing I found with Silas so far that's nice is sometimes what happens with the low intellect investigators is you're really relying on, let's say, like Inquiring Mind or some kind of high value skill card. And if you happen to get screwed on the draw, you lose that skill card, and that was one of your key tools to get it. But with Silas, you could just say, "You want to take that back? Okay, never mind." So I'm gonna see how much I can leverage that.
Right on. Nick?
I actually played a couple of games of Arkham this morning. First time in a while. I decided to pick back up my solo Mandy campaign that is running through Return to Carcosa and adding in the standalones. So last time I played, she face-planted in the Excelsior Hotel and then in Egypt. And this time, the first scenario of Egypt, the Eternal Slumber. And so this time I decided to finish off the Guardians of the Abyss with Knight's Usurper and then continue my Return to Carcosa run. And she, surprisingly, did very well in the Knight's Usurper. I rather than like I did what I like the opposite of what I normally do, which normally I use my first turn just to play assets and get set up. But as I was assembling the scenario, which I've only played Knights Usurper once other than this, and that was at Arkham Knights when it released. I was looking at the cards again and reminding myself kind of how the scenario worked, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to get stuck at a location with any of these enemies. So I explored like immediately, like first turn I just explored 3 times to open up the map a little bit, and that was that little kick in the butt for getting the scenario opened up helped a lot, because then enemies would spawn elsewhere, or I had more room to maneuver around, and then from there I was able to go. And it's also, that's another one that the acts only require, I think, 2 clues per investigator. And that's like the average, but that seems kind of low for, like, I always assume that I have to get like 3 or 4. So there were multiple times when I was like, okay, I need to go around these enemies and get to this location and get that 3rd clue. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, I can just advance now. Like, we're good. So that ended up going very well, and then I did Return to Echoes of the Past. Oh, I got the Summon Night Gaunt, so I was pretty happy about that.
Oh, the Night Gaunt whistle.
Mm-hmm. I only got 1 victory point, which sucked, but I did get the Night Gaunt, so I felt like that was overall a success.
Yeah.
But so then I left that experience point, I didn't spend it on anything, and I went right into Return to Echoes of the Past, which adds 3 more locations to the map, so it makes that map a lot bigger, which turns out really changes the pacing of solo, or at least it did for me, because I was like, I want to check out the new locations, so I went to them first, and then ended up having to backtrack and, get back to the rest of the map for later on, and I spent too much time chasing down the cultists that were spawning and the doom that was being stacked, and I just wasn't able to get to the final goal. So I ended up in a weird turn of events. Solo Mandy handled Knights Usurper easily, not easily, but pretty handily, and then did not handle Echoes of the Past. So I don't know what's going on with this campaign anymore.
Interesting.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So for my games, I mentioned last time I was playing with 2 other guys, Casey and BD, playing a campaign of Return to Carcosa All Rogues.
Oh, that's right.
And that campaign has ended. Unfortunately, it was in Black Star's Rise.
Oh no.
We had a pretty decent game going, and then Casey was playing Tony, and Tony's quarry came up and went all the way to the starting location, because we were kind of near the stairs or the opening there. But the big thing wasn't that it showed up there, because we contemplated just leaving it.
Right.
Because we're like, we had such good pacing, we're like, just leave it there. We're going to advance like in a couple turns. But then Casey's like, no, I think we can go get it. So he ended up trying to go get it, and he had like his Tommy gun out, or the Thompson, and there was just a very large series of unfortunate events involving like multiple tentacles, terrible encounter cards, and it absolutely went tits up. Like, we would have been so much better just leaving it. Luckily, though, my favorite part of this campaign was the fact that we got a new meme-ish among ourselves. So we called him Think Tank Tony, because he was actually getting clues. But like Casey would just have a spare action. He's like, well, I'm only 1 up. I might as well grab a couple clues or like test. And he was like matching us for clues.
Wow.
And we gave him like a New York accent. So he's Think Tank Tony. And then, I don't know why that's so funny, but Think Tank Tony. And then he evaded someone like pretty much by accident. So he was Twinkle Toes Tony. And so... But we started a new campaign. I am playing Tony in this one, because I thought I wanted to play it. And we're playing a Dree... No. What are we playing? TCU. So, Tony was just passing these random tests. It was really funny. But we got totally bogged down. And, And we had the cultists in the bag. Oh, yeah, that's it. We had the cultists in the bag. So... Reveal another token. If there's an enemy with 1 or more doom on it at your location, this test automatically fails.
So why,
And-
can I ask why you guys decided to go after the quarry? Because all it does is add a doom. Like, was that one doom the make or break doom?
No, it was messing up with the agenda tracking because of the two agendas. But I also think it was partially hubris. I'm not sure.
That's a real thing in Arkham.
Yeah.
Like it, and the thing is, Casey's like, no, I think I can go get him, and all of us were like, oh yeah, no, looking at your board state seems good. Like it was not a single person error. This was a whole group. No one was like, maybe we can just leave him, but we should have left him a long time ago.
So how does that work? Does that one doom then count towards both agendas?
It does.
Okay.
Until one advances.
Gotcha.
And once one advances, you remove all the doom from play except from the other agenda.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
So,
I've never encountered that with Black Star's Rise before. That's an interesting little interaction.
Yeah. It was it was not great. And the skull X is minus. It's minus X. X is the total amount of doom on the agendas in play. It's just and we're playing on hard, which is our normal.
Right.
And it just and then Spire shows up. And
and that's
just
two
gross.
doom there, isn't that?
Yeah.
So it was just a terrible game, all in all, and really sad because I was loving this campaign.
Yeah.
But Tink Tank Tony lives on.
Tony's fun. I love Tony. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And he's very versatile.
Casey played the Survivor Splash. And in our campaign now, I'm the chief killer, and I took Guardian.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm running Survivor Splash Tony for our 4-player game. That's hit or miss on attendance. But yeah, he's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying him. The whole, it's so fun to, when an enemy pops up, be like, I'm going to move a bounty to that. Now you're mine, sucker.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right, Ian, can you take us through the Patreon stuff?
I can. So, first off, a big general thanks to all our patrons for helping us do what we do. Special thanks to our 13 board members, Chris B, Chris H, and Chris U. That's our conglomeration of Chris's. Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Nathan, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your huge contribution to the show. Special shout out to a random patron this time around is Ben Swoboda, I believe is how that's pronounced, or Swoboda. Thank you, Ben, for being our patron and helping us out with each episode. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our merch store at mythosmerch.com, where you can get all kinds of cool Mythos Busters swag, coffee mug, backpack. There's so many items that I can't believe that actually have a Mythos Busters logo on it. So if you haven't, if you really want to impress someone at Christmas, get them a piece of Mythos Busters merchandise.
Nice one. I want to see pictures. I want to see pictures of family members who have no idea what Mythosbusters is, accepting the hoodie, the fan favorite hoodie. That's our best selling item, and it's super comfy. But I want to see people just thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the octopus.
I like Mythbusters.
Winter has fully set in here in Canada, and so now I'm wearing the toque/beanie all the time, and I can attest it holds up to Canadian winters. So
Nice.
I'm still sticking with my, my old FedEx one. I got to get a Mythosbusters one. I have the baseball hat, which I'm wearing right now, and that hoodie though is just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I've been wearing that so
super
much.
comfy. There's it's a cold war between my wife and I as far as who's gonna claim it for the day. So yeah.
all right, Ian. Again,
It's me.
we have slight news.
It's a little bit
news
generous
have
to
we?
call it news, but
News adjacent.
I guess so. Yes.
I was kind of scrounging to see what we got. It wasn't even necessarily announced on FFG site proper, but on the Aconite Books website, which, if you aren't familiar with all the little new divisions that are popping up in Asmodee FFG land, Aconite is the new book division that I can't even keep track of who it belongs to. I think it's part of FFG, or I can't remember if it's under
Asmodee
FFG
slash
or
FFG
Yeah,
slash
it doesn't
Warner
matter.
Brothers.
No one cares. Yeah, but anyway, it's part of the FFG family somehow, and it's just focused on pumping out books. So they announced the Legend of the Five Rings one. And they're actually going to be publishing Marvel books in the future, which is interesting. But for now, for our purposes, they announced a Arkham Horror novel, and I think this is actually a full-length novel, I think, versus the novellas. It's called Wrath of Enkai, and the big question I'm sure that everyone has asking and has been asking is there any card promos? And there hasn't been a definitive no, but I feel like one of these announcements and their website would have mentioned it so far, and they haven't. So I'm going to guess that there's no promos in this thing. Like, I think this is just their book division trying to put out books with their IPs, and it's kind of as simple as that.
And it kind of looks like a paperback, which would not be good for keeping cards flat.
Right.
So I'm going to assume that it's... honestly, right? Like the novellas were cardboard back, right? So you put something in a paperback novel, it's might be harder to keep it flat. It might get bent. So
yeah.
I'm going to guess it's not.
Yeah, I think this is... So if you don't care about the accompanying Arkham fiction, then you can kind of just purge the last couple minutes out of your brain. But for me, I'll probably read it. I usually read most of the Arkham stuff. I think the interesting thing for me is it's a new character, Contessa Alessandra Zorzi, who we have not seen in any Arkham fiction or games before. So I'm wondering if maybe she will find her way into the Arkham Files games at some point.
I think the odds are good.
Yeah. And
That's
so
just where
she's an adventurer and thief, so sounds like a rogue to me. So, come on, Contessa. But yeah,
I find it interesting. You said that they are publishing Marvel books because weren't there Marvel books before?
I mean,
like that had a bunch
Marvel's
of
been around since the '60s, yeah, or no, earlier than that, like the '40s, isn't it?
Like as far as paperback novels, I don't. I'm sure there probably has to be at some point.
Are you making a comic book joke?
Oh,
I was. Yeah, sorry. I guess that
flew right over it. But yeah,
1939. I was 1 year off. Founded in 1939.
Wow, really?
Yep, Marvel Comics.
Wow.
But back then it was all like Strange Tales, and they weren't superheroes. It was like weird stuff. Like Swamp Thing or whatever. Is he DC? I can't remember.
I think so. Oh, they're going to have Keyforge books too? No, I'm just browsing through their site.
Keyforge doesn't have a setting. How do you write a book about that?
Wait, Pandemic? They're going to have a Pandemic book?
That's not FFG.
I think
we're just writing books for everything.
I think it's part of the big Asmodee family somehow, but yeah.
It's time for me to submit my hey, that's my fish.
Yeah,
see if I can get it published.
I thought you were going to say your Conquest fanfic.
Oh no.
I'll submit all my wars fiction to them.
It says you can write for them. Pandemic is just going to be like a reskin of, what was the Michael Crichton book? The Strain? So Andromeda Strain.
Andromeda Strain.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They just changed the cover, but it's the same exact, same interior.
Pandemic.
They just put a jacket over Andromeda Strain.
Okay.
All right. Wow, that was a short news segment. Okay.
Probably stretched it out further than it should have needed to.
Yeah. Ian, is there news? There's books. Thanks, Ian.
We gonna read.
All right.
We gonna read.
Oh, okay. Wow, guys. We are already on to the main topic.
That's how we do it when Sean's not here. We don't mess around.
I know, right? God, what a boat anchor.
The old ball and chain. Sorry.
We're doing a deep dive into the Dream Eaters box. One thing we've kind of decided to do a little bit more focused on some of the player cards. We used to kind of mention a couple and breeze by them, but we decided to look a little bit more in depth. with these player cards. So we'll do player cards, and then we're going to get to the story and the scenarios. Spoiler warning, if you haven't played Dream Eaters yet, we are deep diving into it. There is nothing that is sacred. This will spoil the whole box for you. So there's your warning. Now, without warning, Nick, can you read Tommy Muldoon for us?
Oh, gladly. Tommy Muldoon, the rookie cop. He is a guardian investigator. He has 3 will, 3 intellect, 4 combat, and 2 agility. Womp womp. And his game text... Oh, he's police and warden traded. And his game text reads, reaction. When an asset you control is defeated, gain X resources, where X is the total amount of damage and horror on that asset. Shuffle that asset into your deck. Elder Sign effect, +2. You may move up to 2 damage and or horror from Tommy Muldoon to an asset you control, or vice versa. He has 8 health and 6 sanity.
And his deck building, 30.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kind of like the core guys, the core set people. Guardian 0 to 5, neutral 0 to 5, survivor 0 to 2. So, how have you been finding Tommy?
I've played Tommy in 1 game so far. That's the solo Waking Nightmare campaign opposite my solo Luke Dreaming Nightmare campaign. I can't remember the names of those things. I like how he plays. I like how he performs. I like that the survivor off class really like that the fact that you can put leather coats and cherished keepsakes in his deck, which are free, and then when they pop, you get 2 resources. Like, that's so awesome. We'll talk about Becky in a minute. Becky's really cool too, and the way that synergizes with those assets. So he's kind of like not the mirror version, but another version of Leo, in that he really loves allies, especially the ones that you kind of have a revolving door of allies, but he also does it with every other asset as well. So building him multiplayer, I would probably even think about including Something Worth Fighting For or True Grit, cards that I normally pass on, but with Tommy, they you earn the money back for them, and they still soak that damage for whoever, so...
Yeah, he's got a revolving door of allies, revolving door of body slots, and revolving accessory slot.
Yeah,
Old windmill Tommy.
He's probably like the tankiest, one of the tankiest, maybe along with Yorick, potential allies. Investigators, just for the fact that survivor access and just can kind of get those soaks in and out over and over again.
So looking at his weapon of choice, it's Becky. So custom Marlin model, 1894. 2-cost asset, has a combat pip, a agility pip, and a wild pip. Item, weapon, firearm. Tommy Muldoon deck only, uses 2 ammo. Each resource gained from Tommy Muldoon's reaction ability may be instead placed on Becky as ammo. And then action, spend 1 ammo, fight. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. It takes up 2 hand slots. This is a pretty good gun that really plays off what Tommy does.
Like that constant option to reload, I think makes up, like that and the super low cost make up for the 2 hand slots. Because, there's obviously a whole lot of other things. The hand slots, like taking up both with a single weapon, is often like a late game play, or that's something that you do in multiplayer. In solo, that's going to hurt more, but at the same time, you're going to be playing more assets that potentially could buff the things that would normally be buffed by your second hand slot. So Becky kind of fits this nice little niche in how Tommy plays. I love it.
And I think, too, like you said, that 2-handed gun is usually mid to late game. And part of it is, you want to use it, but you don't want to knock out other guns that might still have ammo, because you're like, well, ammo's really precious in this game. But Becky's ability to, play it first turn and then possibly never run out of ammo the entire game. Fantastic weapon.
Yeah, and potentially because it just has its own native like reload ability, you don't have to include like if you're going a heavy Becky strategy, then you don't necessarily need to include some of the reload cards you might normally, which frees up some space. I think the only thing is as you get to higher levels, like of course if you're starting to rock like a flamethrower or lightning gun, then of course those are gonna outclass it. But I mean, this is a signature asset, so it's not like you're taking up space in your deck for it. It's just a solid weapon that's there forever.
Yeah. And those will outclass it, but this is still a 2-cost weapon that gives you +2 combat, +1 damage, which is a pretty good return on that. Yeah, the biggest downside to it is literally just the 2 hands, which you'll find opportunities to still get it in play. So,
I think too, if you plan on running like the Becky deck, right, where it's just get Becky down and just keep on going, you run extra ammo, you run reliable custom ammunition, and you just build this giant, like, what's the Voltron of guns. And I mean, if you're shooting at, like, each time you fight, it's like +4, +5, depending on what you have attached to it. It's pretty good.
Yep. And you'd be running well prepared as well to get the 2 combat icons off of Becky to buff Becky. Or the combat in the wild, rather. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with it. The only downside to something like that, like if you're really relying on this weapon, or if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, like, I made a deck that did that with shotgun, and it had mixed results, and there were 2 copies of shotgun in that deck. There's only 1 copy of Becky, and you can't get a second copy. So I would I would recommend that you still find ways around relying only on this. But it is something that I don't think you'll ever be sad to draw it. At worst case scenario, you're getting 2 more combat icons out of it.
Ian, do you think playing only Becky, like Becky as the only weapon, would be a rookie mistake?
I saw that coming a mile away.
But still couldn't jump out of the way of the oncoming vehicle. It might be a rookie mistake. It's definitely a blunder and flaw. Those are the 2 traits. Revelation: discard each asset you control with damage or horror on it. If no assets are discarded by this effect, shuffle rookie mistake back into your deck. Well, like some other weaknesses, this is very timing based on how bad it's going to hose you, or if it's going to hose you at all.
This is, it feels kind of like shell shock to me out of Mark, right? Like it could just be oh darn, I missed my card draw because I'm fine. Or, well guys, that's the game.
Well, and I think part of the play too, like with Tommy, I imagine you're going to have multiple soaks in play at once, like multiple assets that soak damage and horror, and you'll probably be like managing how much is on each and not popping them until you need to. And this is going to discourage that sort of play, and instead kind of it might influence you to go more so like just like one at a time, just like play it and then put everything on it till it's gone and then play the next one. It's interesting. I did not draw this during my one game with Tommy. So I don't have any like interesting stories about how it like cleaned my playboard or anything like that, but I could see how it could be pretty devastating.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nick, that it's almost, this one is not so much about, like, it can have that moment if you're have bad luck or playing badly where it cleans your board, but I think this is almost more so a weakness that influences how you play a little bit, because I was playing differently in that instead of the usual spreading out my damage and horror among assets, I was just kind of piling it on one, get it out of play, get my resources, play something else, and definitely trying to avoid spreading it among my stuff. And at least until this is gone.
Yeah, and I always say, like, I think I've said pretty much since we started the podcast, like, don't strategize around a weakness, because a weakness is just a 1 in your deck, and even if it like throws everything up in the air for a turn, it's just going to be a turn, and you can usually recover from that. But I mean, there's always going to be examples where something like this shows up, and the next thing you know, you're out 3 assets that you needed. You're out, like an ally and 2 other things. So, something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, should we keep going with Guardian and go right into the Hungering Blade next?
Sure. Yeah, let's keep it going with Guardian.
So the Hungering Blade is a level 1 guardian weapon. The Calamitous Blade of Celephaeus?
Sounds right.
Sounds like something.
Cellophane.
Yes. It's a 3 resource cost asset. It has 1 combat icon, item, weapon, melee, relic, cursed, traded. There's a mouthful. Takes up 1 hand slot, and its game text reads, limit 1 per deck. As an additional cost, to put this card into play, you must search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Bloodlust, and shuffle them into your deck. Action, fight. You get +1 combat for this attack. And for each attached copy of Bloodlust, this attack deals +1 damage. If this attack defeats an enemy, place 1 resource on this card from the token bank as an offering. Oof, and we can't talk about that without talking about Bloodlust as well, so let's just jump right into that. Scott, do you want to read Bloodlust for us?
Yes, I do. As soon as it comes up on my screen, there it is. Okay. Bloodlust is a treachery weakness. It's a madness traded, bonded to the Hungering Blade. Revelation. Remove 2 offerings from the Hungering Blade to attach Bloodlust to it. If you cannot, take 1 horror and shovel Bloodlust back into your deck. And then it has the fast action. While attacking with the Hungering Blade, shuffle Bloodlust into your deck. You deal +1 damage from this attack, max once per attack. So max, just to remind everyone, that is like max per... it's once per attack. There's no way to get around it. So.
It's a hard stop. Before we get into the actual mechanics, because of course I go to the text at first, but then when I first saw this card, then I looked at the art of both cards, and it's like the handle is just straight up spikes. So in order to use the blade, you just gotta impale your hand on these spikes.
Oh god!
Oh, it's brutal. Oof.
Sorry, just to clear it up, because I mentioned it, max once per attack. Because it's max, even if you have 3 Bloodlusts, you can only trigger 1 of them.
Right.
If it was limit once per attack, that limit would be per card. Max is per ability, so it counts for all the Bloodlust cards.
Right.
Sorry.
So you can't pile them, but yeah.
Yeah.
I talked a little bit about this card last episode, because when I was talking about my Dark Roland deck, so having played it a little bit more, I think my verdict hasn't really changed, which is this is like 100%, like 10 out of 10 theme win and fun win. It's so fun to play with, and it becomes a kind of mini game. If you're one of those players who's just looking at it in terms of raw efficiency, is this better than other weapons in Guardian? The short answer for me is no. Just because there's so many hoops you have to jump to get it powered up, and like Guardian of all classes, there's a lot of easy ways to get kind of weapons that are going to boost your attack by more consistently, and that are going to boost your damage more.
I have not used this yet. It's very interesting how, in order to power it up, you have to defeat enemies, which kind of sucks because you don't get that combat bonus until you defeat enemies, until you get offerings on it and then can attach Bloodlust. Although I suppose you can take a horror. Oh no, then it shuffles back in your deck. So yeah, so you have to be defeating enemies at straight combat without the weapon bonus in order to then get the bonus, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Theming, it's awesome. But yeah, I have not tried this yet.
I've tried it twice, and it's both been Zoe decks. Same deck, 2 different games. One was Rougarou, and it didn't work out great because there's not a whole lot of smaller enemies in Rougarou. There are, but the main guy's a Rougarou, right? And so I was having trouble finding things to kill. It was also a 2-player game, so not a lot was coming out.
Well, and not only that, but the only 1 health enemies in Rougarou have 4 fight, and they're those leeches. It's so much easier just to run out of the bayou with them rather than try and fight them, so...
The other game I tried was Carnival, and not quite as many, still not huge on enemies, but I was playing with a player who had Open Gate in their deck, and so we had the Open Gates set up And like the speed at which we were moving around the map, like it felt like cheating. Like I thought elusive was bad in Carnival. Open gate is just
imagine elusive but permanent. Yeah, like that's talk about a card that totally trivializes an entire scenario.
So yeah, it was that one went a little bit better, and I managed to hit the bloodlusts. It was 3 out of 4 times because I hit the first one, hit the second one, the third one missed because I only had 1 sacrifice. But then having a blade that's punching at +3 single-handed for 2 damage, like, oh man, Zoe was swinging because I had a beat cop out, like at 8. My base was 8 attack, doing 2 damage. So
yeah, I had the experience with Roland of having the fully powered up blade, and it works well. I just think that I love the card just because of the fun and theme of it. It's just the other Guardian weapon. Like if you're just looking at it as what's better, like other Guardian weapons are probably better. But to me, I'm the kind of player that I'm fine with these kinds of cards existing, which are the like, do you want to investigate this area of fun, even if it's not the most efficient?
yeah. This was a fun card. I wouldn't necessarily. Well, I think I might actually look into playing this in hard, because once you get the 3 bloodlusts on, like never take them off, and a +3
yeah, definitely
in hard, like that's. But it's like you said, Nick. It's getting to that point, which is tough
because you need to, for every bloodlust, you need to already defeat 2 enemies.
Yeah.
So what investigators that can take Guardian off class look at this over other weapons? Like, that's what I was trying to think. Like, at first I thought, like, well, maybe Carolyn, but her combat's only a 3, so defeating enemies at a naked 3 is not always easy. Yorick.
Well, she can't take leveled up. She can't take leveled up.
That's right. I keep thinking it's firearms, but yeah, she can't take weapons.
Yeah.
It's tough, too, because I feel like, at least from my experience, like, Mr. Rook was so essential to getting it going and, like, finding... Because it's only 1 copy, so that finding it and finding the Bloodlust, that it's almost like you need Guardian and Seeker access if you're going to make
which is very limited. Like, that's literally just Roland or Zoe at this point. What about would Tony take this? Probably not, because the horror is pretty scary. Well, the horror is also scary for Roland too.
He can't. He can only take level 0.
Oh no, events or skills.
Events and skills.
God damn it. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty limited.
Yeah.
The thing I do like about having the Seeker, like having Mr. Rook, is once you get 2 sacrifices, you go find a Bloodlust, and now it's easier to get the next 2.
That's true. Yeah.
And then so you could temper it that way.
It makes it super easy. The chat is pointing out that we forgot our friend Joe Diamond, which, Joe could take it, I suppose. I guess he lacks access to the really higher end Guardian weapons. So.
Sure, but I don't think this is really competing with those as far as a role in the deck. I think it's more competing with, like, the 45s, right? Because it's a 1 experience weapon.
Sure.
Or machete.
Yeah.
or machete. Yeah, that is a 2 experience,
machete,
isn't it?
level 245. Yeah.
So
I do kind of wonder how things would be different if this wasn't a different class that wasn't so flush with weapons. I don't know thematically what else it would fit in other.
I could see it. Yeah, Mystic. I could see it fitting in Mystic, but yeah, I don't know. It's fun. Like the theme is amazing and it looks really fun. But yeah, it's just something that, like, you don't pick this unless, like, you're making the decision to try it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that you're like, I'm going to upgrade to that first. This is my first weapon, you know.
Right. Like you've made a promise or taken a solemn vow to put in your deck and work towards it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Ian, you want to read solemn vow?
I don't want to anymore. Solemn Vow is a 0 cost, 0 XP asset with 2 will icons, spirit traded, myriad, and fast keywords. Play Solemn Vow under the control of another investigator at your location. Free trigger, if the owner of Solemn Vow is at your location, exhaust Solemn Vow, move 1 damage or horror from a card you control to a card that investigator controlled. This one took me a few reads to figure out when it was first revealed.
Yes.
But I eventually got the hang
So
of it.
this is for Tommy and Calvin, and that's about it, right?
Maybe Mark.
Oh, sure. Well,
Because you'd
Yeah.
probably pack healing, right? And then this basically allows him to somewhat tank and draw cards,
Right.
draw into his healing. So
this isn't definitely something that you include one of in a Roland deck, like my Ultimatum.
yeah, no, probably not.
No, so that'll
Probably
be fun
not.
to see how this... I mean, it's 2 will icons, so there's that, but...
Yeah, that's the thing. It does have great icons. So if you are playing like Calvin, and this is kind of in your plan, even if you're playing 2-player, if you really want it out, you could put 2 or 3 in your deck, and it's going to be a card that you're not happy, or sorry, you're fine seeing later on because you're going to need to pass willpower at some point.
Does
So-
Carolyn take this? What's like sanity healing for just her versus for other players? Like, I'm trying to think of what only targets yourself. And I think it's just like fearless, right?
Yeah, but she can also take this and put the horror onto Peter.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, big money Peter in Carolyn. Something like that.
I definitely found this useful. I tried it with Calvin. I have Calvin and Luke in a 2-handed campaign, and not only is it nice getting the Calvin machine going faster, but since Luke is a little lightweight in terms of damage, like being able to peel that off him was a lifesaver so far.
Yeah. All right. Not much to say more about that. Let's move on to Mandy. I'll read Mandy because,
Oh boy.
God, what an interesting character. Mandy the Researcher. She is a Seeker Investigator, 3 willpower, 5 intellect, 1 combat, 3 agility. Assistant and Scholar traded. Reaction: when an investigator at your location would search their deck or the encounter deck, they may either search 3 additional cards or resolve 1 additional target of that search, limit once per round. Elder Sign is +0. Search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and either draw it or commit it to this test. If able, shuffle your deck. And she's got 6 health, 8 sanity, and her deck building is complicated. At deck creation, choose 30, 40, or 50 cards. And then at deck creation, choose Mystic, Rogue, or Survivor. So she's got Seeker 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5, and then she has up to 10 level 0 to 1 events and or skills from your chosen secondary class. And then she also gets 1 copy of Occult Evidence at 30 cards, 2 at 40, 3 at 50, and then also her weakness, Shocking Discovery, and a basic weakness.
I like Mandy a lot. She is
yeah.
super fun. She's great. Do you like, oh man, it's so like that versatility of her ability to be like, do I want to search double or do I want to pull double? Like, do I want to look through twice as many cards or take twice as many into hand is so fun. Her Elder Sign, like when you pull it, it's awesome because then even that's versatile. Like you can commit the card that you find, which can be amazing. Like if you're already ahead, you can commit the Eureka or the Resourceful or whatever. I can't remember who said it. I think Sean might have said in a previous episode that solo, or maybe it was Scott, solo you run the lower deck count.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
After playing True Solo Mandy for about 6 scenarios now at 50 cards, I think I'm leaning towards that train of thought because there's so many times that I'm just digging through that deck, just looking for something, just looking for something to fill whatever niche I'm trying to do or take care of whatever test I'm trying to deal with at the moment. And as we'll talk about in a minute, I don't think her signatures are that amazing that getting the extra copies are, at least in solo, make it worth it. So,
Well, that's the big thing about her signature. Which why don't you read her signature card? Because my next whole point is based on that.
Sure.
So,
Her signature is Occult Evidence. It is a zero-costed event. It has one wild icon, and it is Insight and Research traded, and its game text reads, Mandy Thompson deck only, shuffle Occult Evidence into your deck. Reaction: when you search your deck and Occult Evidence is among the searched cards, reveal it. Draw it and discover one clue at your location, max 1 research ability per search.
so my big thing with that is it's a really cool ability. But finding this and drawing it, and you still get your other card that you're looking for or whatnot, but it's like, oh, discover a clue at your location. When I'm playing solo, very rarely am I on a location with clues because I'm scooping them up because she's at 5 intellect already.
Exactly. So it's just like, I guess I get another wild icon. Yay.
Yeah. Like I didn't really care about this. Now, I mean, the good thing is it's a reaction. It's not forced.
Right.
So, you know, you could just leave it in your deck. But I usually pulled it out, grabbed the wild because I don't want to draw this.
Right.
Right. So, but yeah, on solo, like, if you want to play that 50 card deck with lots of tools and stuff, having 3 other players at the table that can cover you for a turn while you try to find things and whatnot, right? But in solo is so demanding on your single investigator doing everything they need to do and reliably that anything that takes away any reliability and like that hurts that investigator, I think. So I tend to run, even now at like 4-player, if I'm playing, I usually cap out at 40. I just like the reliability of the deck size. So,
Ian, what's your preferred deck size with Mandy?
40. I think I said this before, but it fits right in my desire to not take a stand one way or the other. So I like cutting straight to the middle with 40. But yeah, I find it gives me the good balance between like being able to find stuff and also being versatile, and like, because sometimes there's something to be said for having like a big toolbox of stuff that you can access. But yeah, I think the big thing for Mandy is if I have to think about a class that I'm usually least excited to play, it's Seeker. I don't usually get excited about playing Seekers, but Mandy is one Seeker that I get excited about. Like, I'm always pumped to play a Mandy deck because just that digging and that card play is interesting to me.
Yeah, the Seekers do all kind of they play very similarly. And at least from mine, so like when I think about playing a Seeker, usually it's like, who, like, can I go back, like, has Daisy changed since I last played her? Like, what does a Daisy deck look like now, or something like that? I know I was really big into Ursula when she released, because she's just amazing. I've tried Joe a few times, but I kind of bounced off of him. Like, he's fun, but he's not great. But yeah, I agree, Mandy is, like, she's a real standout. Like, she's super fun.
And that feeling when you're rocking like upgraded level 5 no stone unturned in multiplayer, and just like, here, find whatever you want. Find 2 things that you want.
Well, and one thing I love too. So her weakness, goodness, I've lost it.
I've got it in chat.
Shock and discovery. So treachery, weakness. It's blunder and mystery traded. Revelation, shuffle Shocking Discovery back into your deck. If you cannot, discard it and draw the top card of the encounter deck instead. Which is really weird. So the reason that's there is if your deck is empty, this is the last card. You can't shuffle a card into a non-existent deck. So it's basically like, it's just discarded and you get an encounter card. Forced. When you search your deck and this card is among the search card, discard it, cancel the search and all of its effects, shuffle the search deck, draw the top card of the encounter deck. Having Mandy play Mr. Rook and just 9 every time and grab 2 cards is insanely good. I don't mind hitting Shocking Discovery. Like, it's just, oh my goodness, Mandy is so good, is what I'm saying.
Just today, I did my first search 18 cards with Mr. Rook, because I was like, what was I looking for? Fight or Flight.
You can't search 18 with Mr. Rook.
Yeah, he searches 9 and you double it with Mandy.
No, you search a 3 additional.
What?
Or resolve 1 additional target.
It's not. I thought it was double. Oh my god, you're right. Okay, well then.
Yeah, Mandy's really good, guys.
She's so apparently Knights Usurper.
It'd be
Knights
12.
Usurper is super easy if you cheat. So
No wonder you had such a good time.
oh my god. I'll just you know what? I'll just tech in Lupar and we'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, oh god.
I was
she's
like,
so good.
even as I did it, I'm like, this feels broken. Like looking through 18 cards
so many
for
cards.
one card.
That's because it is broken. Okay. Super quick. Favorite off class? For me, I'm finding Mystic if I'm doing standalone, Rogue for campaign.
I'm enjoying Survivor so far. I started with Mystic and I ditched it for Survivor. And I'm enjoying the Survivor, like for solo. I have not tried Rogue yet.
I have not played her solo, and I've been using Mystic the most, and I think part of that might just depend on who I've been pairing her with.
All right. Let's move on to segment of Onyx. Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to read?
Let me.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
I will take on the segment. Segment of Onyx is a 1-cost, 1 XP asset. A wild icon, item, relic, and occult traded, myriad and fast keywords, free trigger. If you have 3 copies of Segment of Onyx in play, set them aside out of play. Search your bonded cards for Pendant of the Queen and put it into play. And I guess we should probably read what that is.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
Pendant of the Queen with the subtitle of Nothing at All. I like that subtitle. Asset, this is item and relic traded, takes up the accessory slot and bonded to the Segment of Onyx, obviously. Uses 3 charges. If this card has no charges, set it aside out of play and shuffle 3 set-aside copies of Segment of Onyx into your deck. Free trigger, exhaust Pendant of the Queen and spend 1 charge. Choose a revealed location and select 1. Move to that location. Discover 1 clue at that location. Or automatically invade an enemy at that location. So powerful as hell.
So, I know we just talked about Mandy. But I've built a Mandy deck that just abuses the Pendant of the Queen. And I played at 30 cards because I want to find the segments as quickly as possible.
Right.
And when you want to find this, like the segments in a Mandy deck, it's surprisingly easy, especially when you can look at 9 and keep 2 cards. And you're a seeker, so you draw stuff. And once it comes out, the reason I like Mystic for standalone is Enraptured as a skill.
Yeah,
because I can put an
exactly.
additional charge on the Queen's Pendant. Yeah, it's just... This is really fun, this card.
Yeah, it's good. I played a standalone Mandy that was trying to do something similar, and I don't even think it was that optimized. Like, I could optimize it to work way more efficiently, and it still was able to grab the pendant pretty quickly and get some extra charges on it. And once you're doing that, like, that ability is so strong on the pendant. Like, move to any revealed location.
Yep.
Or just straight
Just
up
grab a
discover
clue, yeah.
What do you think is the best ability?
Grab a
of
clue.
those?
Okay, well...
I think that's gonna. I think that's the one that's going to, like universally going to be the most used, I would guess, because it's like ignore shroud, ignore positioning, don't test, just grab a clue. I personally think that's the best one.
I'm colored by my experience playing through Guardians of the Abyss with this, and what's the first scenario? of the desert?
Eternal Slumber.
Eternal Slumber, and that third act where you have to go fight Nabe back in the city. Having 5 charges on Pendant of the Queen, so you can just like for 5 rounds, you don't have to deal with the boss. I'm in the automatically evade camp. Like, I played it with Casey, and it was Stokes as well, and we played Ring Around the Rosie for like half an hour, just hitting like doing the stuff where you wake up the sleepers and just pinging Nabe, and it was like, okay, well, she's kind of screwing us over. Okay, she's exhausted. Like, just no test, nothing. It was,
Yeah, like an automatic evade of that doesn't specify non-elite, that can evade an elite repeatedly. That's super strong for any boss, I think.
Imagine this in Blood on the Altar. Right? Like...
Oh, I was like, which one's that? Yeah.
Now I'm imagining it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many of these. Like, the fact that it doesn't say non-elite, I think it is the automatic evade. That is... It's... Take this into a boss fight, and you're like, cool story. So...
And it's a free action.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
It's of course scenario dependent too. It's like, if it's unspeakable oath, then it might be the move, like, bye.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, the true answer is that the strength of this card is you can choose from all three, like, each time you use it. That's...
Yeah. Pretty good.
And then when
it's not a side quest card.
And then when it's done, it just breaks apart and you can reassemble it.
Yeah.
And it's not like it gets removed from the game. Or
and your deck's probably smaller too when it breaks apart, so...
I shuffled the 3 cards into a 7-card deck. And I still had a charge on Mr. Rook. I was like, okay, go find 2 pieces.
I like the idea, like, Mr. Rook is basically like your bloodhound. Like, he comes back with a segment in his mouth, and he spits it out, and then he runs off again. Yeah, exactly.
No. All right, let's move on to Astounding Revelation. It is a Seeker event, null-costed, and has an intellect icon, research traded, and myriad keyword. Astounding Revelation cannot be played. Reaction: when you search your deck and Astounding Revelation is among the search cards, discard it. Either gain 2 resources or place 1 secret on an asset you control. Max 1 research ability per search.
So this is the better of the 2 research, like between this and her signature. This is the one I look for. Like, I'm always happy when I come across this because the 2 resources are huge. Or occasionally slapping a secret, like if I used Rook, slap that secret right back on him, and it's like he never even did it. Like, I love this one.
Well, and especially, like, I've experienced this one in Mandy is what I've been using it in, of course, because Mandy. But exhausting Rook to look at 9, to take 2 cards, you see an Astounding Revelation, you discard that and either gain the 2 resources or, like you said, put it back on Mr. Rook, and then still grab 2 more cards. Like, I think this is good. I almost feel like these 2 secret cards, like the Segment and Astounding, are really good Mandy cards. I'm not sure about other Seekers.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like it's Preston with the cards that came with his box. Like, these were made for how she operates. The difference between her and Preston is that she's amazing on her own without
she
these.
Operates.
Whereas Preston, like, he leans on those. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think just this in Mr. Rook is decent, but you probably want a few more card search effects in your deck if you're going to devote that card space to it, deck space to it.
Yeah.
Would you run, like, if you were running, say, like, Rex, would you run 3 of these?
No,
probably not. I wouldn't either. I'd probably run, like, 1.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't run it, actually, now that I think about it. Like, there's no space for it.
I find in my 30-card Mandy deck that abuses the pendant, I run 1 or 2 Astounding Revelation, because 3 just takes up too much space, I found. So I'm at like a 1 or 2 camp.
Sure.
If I was running a 40 to 50 card Mandy deck, I might put 3 in there.
I have all 3 in mine, because I'm playing 50 cards, because I'm a glutton, but...
Yep.
No, this is amazing. I love it. I'm always so happy to see this one come up. The only downside, like the only thing that occult evidence has over this is the wild versus the intellect. Because if you end up drawing this, then it's an intellect icon, which you probably don't need, and you end up just pitching it just to get rid of it and free up hand space. Whereas with occult evidence, you get a wild, which could help you with like an evade test or something. But still, that's a marginal, that's a marginal thing.
And you can't shuffle Astounding Revelation back into your deck.
Right.
Where Mandy's Occult Evidence, you can, right? You can take that action and shove it back in the deck if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you draw Astounding Revelation, and it's not that astounding.
Yeah. Speaking of not astounding, no, I'm kidding.
Ian, can you read Tink Tank Tony for us?
Okay, 1 second.
Oh god,
I gotta recover from
the
that.
image
now.
on Arkham DB is still the shitty stream reveal image. Like, come on,
It
guys,
is.
get your card scans up there.
It's the 56K modem version. Come on, load. Tony Morgan is the bounty hunter, rogue investigator, of course. He has 2 will, 3 intellect, 5 combat, and 2 agility. Criminal and oh god, I can't read his
Hunter.
other trait because it's so blurry. Hunter, there we go. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to engage or fight an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it. 9 health and 5 sanity. And Elder Sign effect +2, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts. And for deck building, kind of similar to Mandy, where you get to pick a secondary class, either Guardian, Seeker, or Survivor, and then you can pick up to 10 level 0 to 1 events and or skills of that secondary class.
Nick, why don't you read bounty contracts right away? Because I think it's just, because it's permanent, it's so integral to Tony.
Yeah. Bounty contracts is, it's a asset permanent. For Tony, uses 6 bounties, reaction after an enemy enters play, move 1 to 3 bounties from bounty contracts to that enemy to a maximum of that enemy's health. Forced, after you defeat an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, move its bounties to your resource pool as resources. It's fun if you like moving tokens around, which I do. It's a nice little fun mini game to do. And then it's also especially in multiplayer, it really colors how you see the board, because suddenly there's this bright red target on one side of the map that you're like, I'm gonna go get that one, and even though it's like just 1 resource. Yeah. How much do you guys end up moving usually? Because I find with only 6 and with very little ways to refill this, I just end up doing 1 more often than not.
I do 1 every time.
Yeah, even for big enemies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the only times I have it is when it's I see like maybe a 4 fight enemy or something, or that's going to be boosted or something, like basically any enemy that I'm going to need some extra combat. But usually, it's just 1.
To me, it's not so much the resources or the combat boost, it's the action. Like I get, if it's a bigger enemy, even a boss, like putting 1 bounty on him, okay, I get an additional...
That's all you need.
Yeah. Like what I'm playing now with Tony, and I have Leo DeLuca out, and we're fighting a boss, and I have a bounty on it. Like, I went into the Witch's Circle, and I had 5 actions to deal with a net. You know what I mean? Like, that feels so good. So...
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And the fact that you're getting the extra action, and then you're also getting, this little resource bump as you kill these enemies, it just adds like a lot of value that you're able to keep the Tony train running.
Yeah.
Because by the time, like, let's say you used all the ammo on a gun or something, you should probably have the resources now to replace it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Favorite off class for him?
Depends on player count again. Like multiplayer, a lot of times doing Guardian, and then in solo either Seeker or Survivor.
I've played with him as a Guardian and a Survivor, and I've seen him played as Survivor. I have not yet tried Seeker, and I think from watching... From experiencing him recently and watching him played, like, he could actually do a decent amount of clue finding if you pack some tools for it. Like, most in our game has just been like, he's at a 1 shroud location, you're 2 up, you're like, sure, why not? I don't have another like I'm such a combat focused guy that I don't have anything else to do. I might as well, try. So having that seeker access, I gotta try it.
Yeah, I think
Even
though he and Mandy have very similar deck building options, or not options, but just deck building rules, I think he is far more versatile than Mandy, simply because Seeker as a base is almost more limiting. Like that does a job, and that job is clues. Whereas Rogue as a base, just tricks the game. Like it just kind of cheats its way into multiple different strategies, and then you can supplement that with Guardian or Seeker or even Survivor, and those will kind of funnel him into a different role as well. So I think he's definitely more versatile, and I think that's really cool. Like I love that when you choose the off class, it's more than just am I splashing a couple of cool mystic tricks or whatever. Like with Mandy, it's more like what do I want Tony to do?
Yeah. And I do really appreciate the deck building that it's this like events and or skills only. Because if it was you get access to the assets too, then it'd be like Tony takes Guardian, and now you have all the Guardian weapons, and none of the Rogue weapons are getting used, at least at level 0.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that instead, like with Tony, I'm like, okay, looking through the Rogue assortment, I'm dusting off my knuckle dusters, I'm getting out my Derringer, like maybe looking at some weapons I wouldn't look at otherwise.
And I think if you could take Mr. Rook, you just go find his Colts, which makes him, So anyways, his Colts. Tony's 38 Long Colt, you get 2 copies of this. It's a 3-cost asset, has a combat, intellect, and wild icon. Item, weapon, and firearm traded. Tony Morgan deck only, uses 3 ammo. Reaction, after you play Tony's 38 Long Colt, play another Tony's 38 Long Colt from your hand at no cost. So if you have them both in your hand, you can play one and you just whip the other one out super quick. Action, spend 1 ammo and fight. You get +1 combat for each bounty on the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage. If the attack defeats an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts.
That first ability, after you play it, play another one from your hand at no cost. That's a trap.
I agree. Yep.
That's when you first read that. And I don't know, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but when I first read that, that tells me, ooh, wait till you get both. And definitely do not do that. Play this thing when you get it.
Play it if you got it.
It's going to do stuff for you in play. It's not going to do stuff for you in your hand, so.
Yeah. It's super fun sounding.
Yeah, and once in 12 games or whatever, when you actually get them both at the same time and you draw them both, you'll feel like a badass. Like you can see the image of him pulling them both out of like his, armpit holsters under his trench coat. But yeah, that's a trap. Don't rely on that. Just get this thing in play and use it because it's good.
I think that is about the rate of how often I've actually got to trigger that. But one of the reasons I do like the Guardian access is for prepared for the worst, so that you can find this quicker. But it's more often been for me to find any copy of the Long Colt than to find the second one. Which is originally, I was like, oh, it'll also help to find the second one. But a lot of times it's just been because more than anything, what I'm really looking for in the Long Colt is its ability to refill the bounty contracts. And so that's why I have the prepared for the worst, because I want to find the Long Colt like sooner rather than later, so I can start getting more bounties there.
Yeah.
What card was it that was just revealed in an article? Not the most recent article, but one of them before that. It's a neutral spell. It's the first neutral spell that Lucid Dreaming.
Oh, yes.
Reveal a card from your hand, search your deck for another copy of that card, and draw it. Would you spend 2 experience on that to get both of his Colts out at the same time, just to live the dream of a John Woo film?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think...
Because the thing is, like, what that's doing for you is basically, like, saving 3 resources, right? And I guess saving an action of playing it.
And you're spending 2 in an action. So you're just saving 1 resource.
Not worth it to try to build it. Yeah.
Got him.
It's still one resource, guys.
Yeah. And you know what I find too is the way that I play Tony, it sounds like most of us do, where you place one bounty, unless it's like right near the end, there's a big boss. This is basically a 45 automatic that reloads your bounties, which, not saying it's terrible, but it is just a basic weapon. Like, if you draw these late game and you've run out of bounties, this is not a good weapon.
Or just attacking something without bounties. It's knuckle dusters. It's okay, but it runs on ammo then. So
yeah, and so the big thing that I say too, or I want to point out too, is when you said that the first ability is a trap. I think it's a trap to put both out. Like I think at most I'm usually playing one, unless I find them really early, and then I'll play both while I have a lot of bounties and I can cycle them. But yeah, I usually find I play one and the other one's a skill card.
If there was some room on this card to add another ability that like capitalized on having them both in play, then maybe. Like maybe if you got +1 attack if you had both of them in play, even though you're just technically firing one. You know what I mean? But this card's already jam-packed with text, and it's still fun and good anyway, so.
Yeah, I think it's mostly, especially because with Tony, I like having one of those melee weapons, like say a knuckle duster or switchblade in one hand and this in the other. So I kind of don't want to kick that out if I play it. Although I have, if it's gotten to like the end of the game, then yeah, I'm gonna have the badass moment, pull them both out.
All right, moving on to Tony's Quarry. Who's up? Is it Nick?
Sure. Tony's Quarry is an enemy weakness, 4 fight, 3 health, 1 evade, humanoid, monster, and deep 1 traded. Spawn, location farthest from Tony Morgan. Aloof. Forced, after Tony's Quarry enters play, place 1 doom on it, then place 1 resource on it from the token pool as a bounty. It deals 1 damage and 2 horror.
Never go chasing this guy when he's at the other side of the map, and it's gonna cause you to lose the game.
So, could we rename this one Casey's Folly then?
Oh, poor Casey. No, it was our
Sorry,
entire group's
Casey,
folly.
It's not a terrible, like the one doom communal fair, yeah. The one doom, like that's a pain, but it doesn't get more than the one. You know what I mean?
So
this is, I think the severity of this enemy is dependent on when you draw it. More than anything, like if you draw it during the witching hour, it's like just like, all right, fine, bye, like see you later, and just leave it there. And it doesn't hunt; it literally just sits there with 1 doom on it. So it's
aloof.
Yeah, and it's aloof.
Yeah, and it's aloof, so it's not even gonna like bog you. You can walk in, do the stuff you need to do at the location, and it's just gonna watch you. So
yeah, I find if you draw this like mid to late game and it's just on the other side of the map, you're like, I don't care.
I mean, now you find that, yeah.
Well, no, I to me, it's almost like this is just new art for ancient evils, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I always rationalize it to myself when I start feeling bad. I'm like, it's just like as if I drew an ancient evil.
Right. Except for this won't advance it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah,
it's a weak ancient evil.
I mean, there are some cases where it's annoying, like playing through Carcosa, like Curtain Call, like because those, you know, if you kind of want to get through before the emissary pops out, and then this is adding a doom and it's going to rush that. So yeah, there's certain scenarios where it's annoying, but in the grand scheme of signature weaknesses, I don't think it's on the top end.
Yeah,
pretty low impact. Moving on.
All right, yeah. Crystallizer of Dreams is a rogue asset. It has cost 1, willpower icon. It is item and relic traded. As an additional cost to put this card into play, you must search your bonded cards for 1 copy of Guardian of the Crystallizer and shuffle it into your deck. Reaction: after you play an event, attach it face down to Crystallizer of Dreams instead of discarding it to a maximum of 5 attached events. Attached events may be committed to skill tests as if they were in your hand, and takes up the accessory slot. I will also read the Guardian of the Crystallizer, because that's the downside of this card. It is a weakness. It is an enemy weakness. Monster traded. 3 fight, 3 health, 3 agility. Bonded to the Crystallizer of Dreams. It is a hunter keyword, prey, investigator with a crystallizer of dreams only. Guardian of the crystallizer enters play exhausted. Forced, if there is no crystallizer of dreams in play, set Guardian of the crystallizer aside, out of play.
It should have had the subtitle, So Sleepy. Because it comes into play exhausted. Oh, can't be bothered to go after you right away.
Oh, it's just a tough job.
It's much appreciated.
He's over there. So I when I first read this, like this card, the crystallizer itself, and when I was building a deck for this investigator, the first thing that's jumped out to me was Safina. Because of the event play, and she's running event heavy anyway, and like it just seemed like the perfect fit. But I couldn't find, like, I was any other rogue investigator. I was like, well, maybe Preston.
That's kind of where I've used it, is in Preston.
Yeah.
Because of all the favors, they have double icons, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And he's rich, so he's playing lots of events. So.
The investigator I found success with it so far is Tony, because I was running it in a solo build and like getting some of the double intellect icon events under there, so I could keep using them. Made him like a pretty reliable clue getter in solo. My mind went to Safina first too, and I think there's a good Crystalliner Safina deck out there, and mine wasn't it yet, because I think it requires a little rethinking, because there's a certain like suite of events in Safina that I usually use that are really good in Safina, but they're not necessarily good Crystallizer events, and so you kind of have to rethink what events you use with Safina.
I think if you're running a Safina Crystallizer of Dreams deck, you're probably leaning more into Rogue than you are into Mystic, because a lot of the good Mystic events are single icon or even zero icons, whereas a lot of the good Rogue ones have either a couple of options of icons or double up, like the favors.
The favors.
So I guess we're learning that it's just good in Rogue regardless. If I thought Safina, you're playing it in Preston, and Ian's playing it in Tony, like turns out it's just good. Do you so this is a level 0 rogue accessory, which they don't have a lot of competition for, except for the ever reliable Lucky Cigarette Case. Do you run both? Do you run one or the other?
I would rather run Cigarette Case.
I would too.
Yeah. There's also the Crystal Skull. That's
right.
That's
but
rogue, isn't it?
I forget about that because it's trash.
I think it's the crystallizer is something that you build a deck around. Like, you're not going to throw it randomly in, and the Lucky Cigarette Case is kind of all-purpose, can go in all kinds of decks. Like, the big benefit of crystallizer is that you're kind of getting extra use out of the events in your deck. It's like you get the ability, and then you also get the icons. But yeah, you can't just willy-nilly put it in a deck. And also, one of the reasons I also like Tony for it is because since it's getting another enemy in your deck, like he's at least able to handle it. So maybe for you also have to think about with your deck, because I also got the bad luck of also drawing a Silver Twilight Acolyte as my basic. So I had the Guardian weakness, the Silver Twilight Acolyte, and then Tony's Quarry.
Wow.
So 3 enemy weaknesses.
Yeah.
So yeah, think about it a bit before you include
And there really
it.
isn't much to talk about with the Guardian. Like, it's a pretty basic enemy. Like, 1 and 1 for damage, 3 health, which is annoying, which we're seeing that more and more now on enemies, and just enters play exhausted, and that's it. And if ever you ditch the crystallizer, it's gone. Like, it's not doing anything super interesting or new. So I guess as far as strategies with that is just, it's an enemy. Deal with
have
it.
a friend. Either be
Punch it.
Either be Tony or have a friend.
Yeah. Essentially. And it shuffles into your deck even, like, you don't even get it right away. It doesn't get drawn, it just gets shuffled into your deck, so it could pop up at any time. And when it does pop up, it's exhausted anyway. So this is a pretty tame downside for such a good, or potentially good, upside with this card. So,
yeah. Nick, why don't you read your favorite new investigator?
Easy Mark.
Oh, right. I forgot about that card. Damn.
I thought there was a joke in
So
there
did I. That's
somewhere.
why I said it like that. I love Mark. I just wish he were easier. Yeah.
Easy mode Mark.
Easy Mark is not an investigator. It's a rogue event. Level 1, 0 costed. Has an intellect and an agility. Skill icons. Myriad keyword. Gain 2 resources and draw 1 card. Reaction. After you play Easy Mark, play another Easy Mark from your hand at no cost. That sub ability is also a trap, but less so than Tony's Colts, because you can build around this. Because it's Myriad, you can have 3 copies, and thus you're more likely to see more than one. When we played Iron Man TFA and I was running Finn, I teched these in for a couple of scenarios just because we had an abundance of experience. And there were a couple times where I found myself hanging on to it, waiting for another one. And then eventually I was like, I'll just play it. And then the card I draw ends up being the second Easy Mark. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, thanks. Like, okay. But then again, I'm not sad to have it because it's just 2 resources, draw a card. Like, that's still a good ability.
Well, if you do draw Easy Mark as part of the card draw, you can then play that Easy Mark.
Oh, really?
At no cost. Yep.
I did not know that. That's
it's a
really
reaction.
good.
Because you play this, right? And you do the stuff. And then after you play it, so you've done the resources in the card. Yeah, the timing window's still open. So you can actually daisy chain this, like, if you just happen to get super lucky. But I agree with you, right? Like, if you're putting this in there, it's a resource engine card for you. And even just playing it alone, not super great, but it's gaining you 2 resources and replacing itself.
Right.
Which is fine. If you have 2 of them, that's a pretty good deal. If you have 3 of them, I mean, why are they still in your hand?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so many times that not so many, but at least not in solo, but in multiplayer, you'll get those turns where your last action, you're like, I guess I'll gain a resource, or I guess I'll draw a card. And this does both, like, 2 resources and a card for 1. So, like, that's pretty good tempo.
Ian, you're surprisingly silent.
I was just like deciding in my head whether I'm reevaluating
how much I'm
going
to
to
shit on this card.
No. No, I do like it overall. It's I guess I was just thinking about the recent rogue decks I've been playing and how just flush with resources with all the recent rogue cards there are, that Easy Mark hasn't been as easy a choice as it would have been in the past. But that's not to say it's a bad card. It's just speaking to the state of rogues now, that there's, with investments and Lone Wolf and Watch This, all these various cards, like, it's so easy. And then once you upgrade, you can get into Hot Streaks and Payday, that it's kind of fighting for a place. And I think if there is something to say for it, it is that deck thinning. Like, it seems minor at first that you're just drawing a card. But Rogue also, at times, if you're not careful, can run into the problem of, like, lots of resources and not enough to spend it on. So, in this case, I like that you're getting resources and potentially drawing into something that you can, spend it on.
Yeah, you bring up...
Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, you bring up a great point. I hadn't thought about that there's so many other cards in Rogue that get you more resources, or just have more effects that result in resources. But so that makes me think, like, maybe this has a better home amongst, like, rogue off-class characters. Like, I think Mandy would probably like this. Because you don't have to worry so much about that 3 copies of it if you're running a 40-card Mandy deck. And it's deck draw, or it's card draw, which is nice. Leo might even like this early on before he upgrades into something. Let's see. Hot Streak is what? Is that a level 2? Yeah.
There's a level 2 and a level
2 and a 5.
Yeah, so 1 experience, get a couple copies of this in a Leo deck, and then eventually work your way up to Hot Streak or something like that. I think this might have a better home in investigators that don't have access to all the higher up rogue resource stuff.
I actually had a bit of I don't know if I call it an epiphany, but I was realizing, because Myriad, you can buy all 3 for 1 XP. For my Tony deck that I'm running right now, I was like, I have my 2 emergency cash, and I'm like, man, like, how do I upgrade? Do I upgrade to emergency cash level 2? I'm like, that's really expensive. Why don't I just upgrade them into easy mark and then also a third card, just kick it out of my deck, whatever I'm not using. So turn 2 emergency cashes and a card into 3 easy marks for 1 XP. And I think that's the way I'm going to go. So
this is a decent replacement for cash. Like, you're losing out on a resource, but you're drawing a card, which could then, if you're lucky, result in a second easy mark, for nothing. So yeah, I like that. I like that trade-off.
Nick,
yes,
can you read your new favorite investigator?
Gladly.
Good old Easy Luke.
Miss Doyle. No.
Luke Robinson is the Mystic Investigator from the Dream Eater cycle. He is the Dreamer. It's almost like it's his cycle, and after playing him, that's how I feel. He has 4 will, 3 intellect, 2 combat, 3 agility, Dreamer, Drifter, and Wayfarer traits. His game text reads, you begin the game with Gatebox in play. You may play 1 event each turn as if you were at a connecting location and engaged with each enemy at that location. Elder Sign effect, +1, place 1 charge on Gatebox. He has 5 health and 9 sanity. His deck building, pretty bog standard. Let me pull that up. Mystic, level 0 through 5, Seeker, level 0 through 2, and neutral cards, level 0 through 5, and then his 2 SIGs and a random weakness. And I think we have to talk about the Gatebox
We pretty much have to.
immediately, and the resulting location, so everybody gets to read.
Ian, Gatebox.
Gatebox is a 3-cost asset, worlds within worlds, item and relic traded, Luke Robinson deck only, uses 3 charges, free trigger, exhaust Gatebox and spend 1 charge, disengage from each enemy engaged with you, search your bonded cards for Dreamgate Wondrous Journey, put it into play, and move to it.
Bonkers.
Yes.
So Dreamgate, Wondrous Journey, so a double-sided location card. It is a neutral it's location. Dreamlands traded. Shroud 1, Clue 0, and is bonded to Gatebox. Dreamgate is connected to each other revealed location and vice versa. Enemies and investigators other than Luke Robinson cannot enter Dreamgate. Force the enemy investigation phase, set Dreamgate aside out of play. If Luke is here, move him to any revealed location. The bad side is Dreamgate, Pointless Reality. Dreamlands traded as well. Shroud 6, Clue 0, bonded to Detach from Reality, which is his weakness. Oh my goodness, we have to read that too. Luke, damn it, you're so confusing.
Luke is the worst.
Enemies and investigators other than Luke Robinson cannot enter Dreamgate. Reaction, after you successfully investigate Dreamgate, flip it over. Forced at the end of the investigation phase, set Dreamgate aside out of play. If Luke is here, move him to any revealed location, and he takes 2 horror. Nick, would you like to read Detached from Reality?
Sure, full circle.
So we can talk...
Detached from Reality is Luke's weakness. It is Madness traded. Game text reads, Revelation, if Dreamgate Wondrous Journey is already in play, flip it over. Otherwise, search your bonded cards for Dreamgate Pointless Reality and put it into play. In either case, disengage from each enemy engaged with you and move to Dreamgate, which would be Pointless Journey at this point. So let's scroll back up and talk about Luke.
Yeah.
My new favorite Mystic, hands down, far and away. And probably he's in my top 5 investigators, probably in top 3. I had so much fun playing with him at Arkham Knights, not for our Iron Man, but for our How Low Can You Go event, and just for a couple other scenarios here and there. And yeah, as Casey points out, he looks like he can pull his 25%, and he can. The Mystic or the Seeker Splash is so perfect with the way his effects work, like the fact that you can play events at connecting locations. Oh my god, he's just so fun. And then it's not efficient, but if you like nesting abilities, it's fun as hell to do like a Vermes, Diana, Knowledge is Power, jank-ass event build. That's just, it's so fun to be like, for 1 action, I'm going to do all this shit and play. I'm not going to go over it again because I know I've talked about it on previous episodes, But yeah, he's crazy. And I came up with that and my mind blew. And then I was like, I don't know if I can, like, I don't even think I've figured out Luke yet. Like, even after coming up with that crazy ass build, I was like, I still think that there's layers to him that I haven't seen yet.
My favorite part about Luke is just the absolute game-breaking ability that is Gatebox.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the most part, it's just an awesome design, right? Like, being able to play these events, Doovies in chat mentions Barricade. I love Barricade because you don't have to like place it on your location because you're everywhere. It's just the way you can barricade level 0 is just fantastic.
Yeah.
About breaking the game, like someone mentioned, well, if you're playing Essex Express and like something advances the thing and you're in the dream box, like or in the dream gate, and the rest of the train falls off, you are now in dream gate and there's no revealed locations, so where do you go? Like, and you're just like, I don't know. Like, it's just,
He's like, I think I'll just hang out here for a little bit.
yeah, I mean,
I think at that point you just have to carry Luke and the gate box around with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
The game never ends.
yeah. Oh god, yeah, it's just barrel roller in chat said I had it happen. Just Luke in an engine car. There you go. An unrevealed engine car. And you're just like, well, that's great. And just like some of the other scenarios, like I mentioned it before, and we're gonna talk about this card soon, but Open Gate and Carnival. Like Luke just being like, screw your movement, I'm going over here.
Like, that's
It's
cute.
just-
Go in a circle? No thanks.
Or oh my goodness, the Doom of Etzley, right? Like grabs
Yes.
the thing,
Yes.
just dream box at the front
bye.
door. Like it just, oh man.
Yeah, it's just so versatile, and like we talked endlessly about how good elusive is, and this isn't exact, but it's close and it's repeatable. It's just like having a ninja vanish on top whenever you want.
Yep.
Like in solo, if you get an enemy, it's like, okay, bye, and you just hop into your gate box, and then you add on top of that the weird shenanigans of you can play an event, to a connected location as if you were there. Like I just have that same feeling that you said, Nick, that I feel like I've touched maybe like 5% of what I can do with Luke so far. There's a lot to explore there. And I like any investigator that you kind of are sitting there during your turn in a tough situation and be like, what are there like 5 different ways that I could tackle this situation?
And then it spawned that, I can't find it right now, I'm sure Scott will find it in a minute, but it spawned that amazing meme that's like you pull an enemy and then it just has Luke in the car like, haha, you dumb bitch. Like, enemies are suddenly nothing because you can just leave, you can just say bye, and then you can Storm of Spirits them while you're sitting in your own little safe zone. Oh,
It just gives that feeling of freedom that I have with like certain like high evade rogues or investigators, where it's like I'll just hold off on putting out my shriveling because if an enemy pops out, I'll just hop into my gate box and it'll be fine.
Bye. I really like his seeker access.
yes.
It's, I mean, he's only got 3 intellect, but still 3 is something you can work with, you know? And because he's got it as an off class, you really can build him seeker heavy if you want, and even stuff like working a hunch from a location away.
Yeah.
Or vantage
Oh, yeah,
point.
that's totally
Like, there's
worth it,
just so
yeah.
many weird,
And then you get access to Knowledge's power, which you can put on Diana, which then you can use to play Vermes from your hand, which you can use to pull another event from your discard pile.
You
The-
could, yeah.
All this one action, Scott!
The main thing I found with Luke is like trying to decide how much, like, am I gonna go just buffing his will and go like Sixth Sense that route? Am I gonna buff his intellect? Am I gonna do a little of both? And kind of figuring out what's best is one of the things I've been trying to figure out is Luke so far.
Yeah, I think you do need to buff his willpower a little bit if you're going to be using it. Because 4 is okay, but 5 would be better.
Right. And
Yeah.
Sixth Sense
Yeah, you gotta
is
get up
awesome
there.
with him.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, God, he's so good. So good. We need to move on. I'm going to be talking about them all night.
So a great event to play at any location is stargazing.
Almost as if it doesn't require a location.
I know. So it's great anywhere. Anyone can be Luke. So stargazing is a mystic event, 0 cost, level 1. It has a wild icon. Insight and augury traded. Max twice per game. Play only if there are 10 or more cards in the encounter deck. Search your bonded cards for 1 copy of the Stars Are Right and shuffle it into the top 10 cards of the encounter deck. So Stars Are Right is Mystic. It's technically an event. Null traded, no icons because you're never going to play it. Augury traded, bonded to Stargazing. Revelation, remove the Stars Are Right from the game. Choose an investigator. That investigator draws a card, gains a resource, and may take an immediate action as if it were their turn. This action does not count towards the number of actions that investigator can take each turn. My favorite, not occurrence, but the story that happened with this was at Arkham Knights, and Sean played Stargazing. Stars Are Right went into the deck, and it came up, and for whatever reason, we decided that I was the best person to take the bonus at that point. And so, grabbed my resource, drew my card, narcolepsy. So I did not get the action.
Stars are so right that you just fell asleep.
The stars are right. Yeah, it was like, man, stars are right for nap time. So...
even if this were the investigator that drew it does those, that's still amazing. Like, the fact that you get to pick the person is just the cherry on top.
And this essentially cancels your encounter draw, right? And you are essentially trading an action for an action later, right? Like, it takes an action to play Stargazing, but that action is coming back to somebody, right? So
and it's replacing literally like what could potentially steal actions from you in the form of an enemy or a treachery that takes actions or whatever. You know, like it may seem like it's 1 for 1, but yeah, it is. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's like the world's slowest cancel. all the other cancel, deny and war, they're all fast. This one like traded super slow. So
yeah. But I think if you just take the fact that it's 1 less encounter card that you have to resolve for that round, that alone is worth it for me. But then you add everything else on top of it, and yeah, it's super good for 1 XP and 0 cost. Like, you're not sinking any resources into it.
Do you run this in solo?
Yes.
At 10 cards?
Like, yeah, I mean, because you're going to, well,
I could see Mandy running it, because then you could like scry and set it up to where, but then you're devoting a lot of actions just to use this. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess the question is, are you going to have 10 more turns in that game?
Right.
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
So
I've usually, the times I have played it, I have pretty much always seen it, but it's just a function of like that might not happen. It just depends on when you play it, you get lucky. I mean, the other side of that coin is it's also more impactful in solo. Like, that just means that there's no Mythos card, encounter card you have to face that turn, and you get the extra action and card and resource. Like, it's a super big swing in solo, but you also might not see it as much as consistently.
I saw one argument against this card online, and I had to step away because the person was arguing, well, all this card does is actually net you 1 resource, because you have to spend a card to gain a card, and then spend an action to gain an action, and you gain a resource. And I was like, oh boy, I can't even.
Oh my god. Netrunner players are ruining Arkham.
No, people who obsess over the
yes.
balancing things. Anyways, it's kind of a big old door, an open gate into our next card. Ian.
Oof. Okay. Open Gates is probably a card that's a little less controversial. This is a 1 cost event, 0 XP, a will and agility icon, spell traded. Myriad and fast keywords play only during your turn, attached to your location, group limit 3 in play, Investigators may move between any two locations with an attached open gate, as if the locations were connected. That is good.
All I'm going to say is Patrice can take this, and I played Patrice in Carnival, and this was hilarious.
And she's going to see him, too.
Because we had it at the starting location, canal side, and then the one between the two, and it just like we were oh my goodness.
That's hilarious.
Connections, what are those?
Okay, so it was like the starting location, then it was two locations, then it was canal side with an open gate, then it was two locations, and then it was the location that had fast moved to the connecting location. So like we had canal side where we had to be, plus we had the abyss, like an open gate was with the abyss. Like, it was just ridiculous.
That's like a Scooby-Doo scenario. Like you're literally just like jumping out of one portal into the other, like running down the hallways.
Stupid fun. This one breaks games.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Think any scenario with a map that takes you, more than 2 actions to get across. Like there's Midnight Masks, Devourer Below. There's so
Doom of Astley.
Yeah, there's so many scenarios
unspeakable
that this just not only makes easier, but again, in the case of Carnival, just trivializes. The only time that this isn't useful is in scenarios where the map resets, like Depths of Yoth or Search for Kadath, stuff like that. But those are the exception to the norm.
Yeah. And I guess also scenarios where it's kind of more a forward motion thing where you start
Essex.
in one area.
Yeah, Essex was.
That's probably the most extreme example, but I think there's some other scenarios where it's more like you start in one place and you're kind of just going from location to location and ending in a different place.
But if you play Luke in Essex, you can slap an open gate, like you can go into his dream box. You can slap an open gate at your current location, go into his dream gate, and then slap one on the engine car.
But isn't that only the revealed locations for Luke?
You may play one event each turn as if you're at a connecting location, engage with each enemy at that location. No, yeah, you can just do that. Nothing says it has to be revealed, right? Yeah, I'm reading these too.
But isn't the good side of Dreamgate, doesn't it say it's connected to each?
Oh, that's the one I'm missing. Okay, yep. Arkham DB has 2 images of Pointless Reality. It doesn't have Wondrous Journey, so I didn't link that. Yeah, never mind.
Each other revealed location.
Damn you, Essex!
You know what? It's okay. Just rook for 18. You'll be fine.
No problem.
Checks out. Yeah. Found my Lupara.
Yeah.
So I think Open Gate is like it's definitely good in most scenarios. Probably it's incredibly overpowered in some scenarios, and in other scenarios it's just okay. I definitely have not. It's not like an auto include always. There's certain decks that I leave it out if I think that my deck is like fast and efficient enough that it won't need the help and like. And those extra actions that are going to be saved from not having to move.
Yeah. Really good in Patrice.
Yeah, you'll see them all.
Because she sees them, yeah.
Or Mandy, for that matter.
Yeah. Speaking of Patrice, my new favorite investigator, Patrice Hathaway, the violinist, she's... what am I? Survivor. Oh my god.
She's Bird.
Long day. She's the Bird class. 4 willpower, 2 intellect, 2 combat, 2 agility, so a little low there. But that's okay. Performer and curse traded. Your maximum hand size reduced by 3. This card's terrible. During each upkeep phase, instead of drawing 1 card, discard all non-weakness cards in your hand and draw until you have 5 cards in hand. Elder Sign effect, +1. After this test ends, you may shuffle all but 1 card from your discard pile into your deck. 7 health, 7 intellect, or 7 health, 7 sanity. Did anyone else, when they were first reading her, like basically like look at the stat line and be like, ugh, and then you read the next line, you're like, ugh, what is going on? And then just have this like euphoric uprise reading her main ability.
It's a ride reading the card.
Survivor 0 to 5, Mystic 0 to 2, Neutral 0 to 5.
I haven't played Patrice yet, because when I sat down to build a deck for her, I looked at her deck building options, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So I just put her away, and I took out Luke.
That's fair.
So I need a level
is a bit of
0
a thinker.
deck list for her as like a starting point, from someone who has one.
Oh, I should also mention she has a 42 card deck
Right.
as well, like not just the 30.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are definitely better and worse Patrice decks for sure,
Right.
and I think you can build a crappy Patrice deck. But on the other hand, I think she's kind of forgiving, because I feel like the first Patrice deck I built to go into Dream Eaters was not that great, because I was still getting the hang of it, and it's still doing pretty decently going through kind of this blind experience of Dream Eaters, because of that constant refreshing of your hand just makes things kind of forgiving that, okay, my hand this turn sucks.
Right.
Maybe this card isn't the best, but next turn it's a whole new ball game, and whatever else there may be, you're just pitching icons, and like that supposedly low 2/2/2 does not feel low at any point,
Right. Yeah.
at least to me.
I think there's been a lot of discussion on our Discord about how to build her, and I don't think I think same thing as you, Nick. When you first look at her, you're like, "What am I putting in this deck?" And I think a lot of I guess there's two camps. Well, maybe not even two camps. Anyways, I've seen like people like me. I'm thinking, well, I actually want like not heavy asset, but pretty decent amount of assets, because I want to see them get set up, and then my hand is just icons and events for the rest of the game. And then I've seen other people lean super hard into skills.
That's what I
Some
thought
people
at
lean
first.
super into events. Mr. Trench or Casey throws out there too. Once you get 4 XP and 2 copies of Cornered, like it just
It's so good.
once every single card in your deck is Unexpected Courage plus whatever else it is, like it's just it's bonkers.
That sounds like
ridiculous at that
that
point.
sounds like some like Hearthstone bullshit. Replace your deck with Unexpected Courage. And then all of a sudden, oh my god, that's amazing.
But it's not just like, it doesn't just replace your deck with Unexpected Courage. They still keep everything about themselves, right?
Exactly.
Like they just
I think that's what I first thought when I started building her, was like, okay, skill heavy. And I was leaning away from assets just because I was thinking temporary. Everything's temporary, so you got to kind of play into that. But like, one of the best assets for her Sig, like,
yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Patrice's Violin, 2 costed asset, has a will, agility, and wild icons. Free action: choose and discard 1 card from your hand and exhaust Patrice's Violin. Choose an investigator at your location to either gain 1 resource or draw a card. Takes up 1 hand slot because she is a savant who can play the violin one-handed. But free action, and get rid of the shit you're going to get rid of anyway to gain a resource, draw a card. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know you when this was kind of previewed. I wasn't on the episode you guys were talking about, and you said, and Sean I think said, "Well, you draw a card every time, right?" And I was like screaming in my car as I'm listening to this. But that's because like I'm like, no, get resources. So you pile up this amount of resources so that every turn you can play as much of your hand as you want, right? That card that you're not going to use anyways, you're not going to commit to a test, turn it into money, because money stays and cards are fleeting with her, right? At least that's how I've been playing, especially now that I like the asset build where I get, my tableau set up.
Yeah.
And then it's just,
Yeah, and she just changes the calculus of everything because of the fact that suddenly you kind of have unlimited consistency. Like, even if you put a single copy of a card in your deck, like, you're going to see it at some point during the game. And it just changes how you build your deck, because knowing that, like, certain cards that maybe have a little bit less value because they rely on you needing to be consistent, like, that works fine. And Patrice, she's going to see it. And man, her Elder Sign goes off a lot for me. I don't know about you guys, but like I'm constantly like shuffling it in, which is nice once you deal with the Watcher and it's in your discard pile.
Barrel Roller brings up in chat, you could give another investigator that card, but who cares about them, right? But that is an option, right? Like that.
It is an
that
option.
being there to help other people draw cards. Yeah. So Ian, her weakness.
Watcher from another dimension, 5 combat, 2 health, and 5 evade. Monster, extra dimensional. Peril, hidden, hunter. Revelation, secretly add this enemy to your hand. You may fight or evade this enemy while it is in your hand, as if it were at your location. If you succeed, discard it from your hand. If you fail, spawn it engaged with you. Forced, when your deck runs out of cards, if this enemy is in your hand, it attacks you from your hand. And it does 3 damage. So it's not a light swinger there.
When I first saw this card, it was shared in one of our Discord servers, and I didn't have context because I hadn't seen the article yet in which Patrice was spoiled. So this card was shared, and I thought this was a basic weakness, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, I wish this was a basic weakness, because this design is so cool. Yeah, I love it. And the thing is, like, it's not easy to deal with. And yeah, she has the 2s in the stats that deal with it. Of course, you can commit cards and everything like that, but also it's hitting for 3. Oh, that's rough. So
The thing is, you have time to deal with it, though,
Right,
right? Like
yeah.
usually,
That's the nice thing.
you drop mid game, you're like, okay, I can just figure something out. You can also just throw a stray cat at it.
that's true too.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a nothing. It's definitely like, usually it's kind of taking up one of your turns that you kind of have to spend, which I guess is kind of par for the course for a lot of weaknesses. But she has more answers than I thought at first when I just saw it spoiled. The stray cat, of course, but I find a lot of times it's just like, okay, let me wait until I see my premonition, and then I'll make sure I hit this fight or evade so that it doesn't, that I don't fail it and it spawns with me.
Yeah. I try and line up a turn where I can deal with it, and it usually involves premonition, fire axe, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of cats, let's talk about Patrice's favorite cat. That isn't a stray. Miss Doyle. Miss Doyle is a survivor ally, the cat general of Ulthar. 3 cost, level 1 asset. Has a wild icon. Ally, creature, and Dreamlands traded. Limit 1 per deck, but you'll see it with Patrice. Forced, after Miss Doyle enters play, search your bonded cards for Hope, Zeal, and Augur. Randomly choose 1 to put into play. Shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Miss Doyle leaves play, find each of those assets, even if they are out of play, and remove them from the game. Takes up the ally slot and has 2 health and 2 sanity, which is decent. And then we have the 3 cats, Hope, Zeal, and Augur. They're almost identical except for which tests they help you with. So I will randomly read Hope. So Hope, 1 cost asset, intellect and combat icons, ally, creature, Dreamlands, bonded, and fast. Forced, after Hope enters play, discard Zeal and Augur. And an action, if Hope is ready, exhaust or discard him, evade. Attempt to evade with a base agility of 5. If you discarded Hope, this test is automatically successful. Then you may shuffle Hope into your deck to put Zeal or Augur into play from your discard pile. The big difference between them is what icons they have. Zeal, who is the combat one, has intellect and agility. And Augur, the intellect one, has combat and agility.
Yeah, they have the ones that they're missing.
That's the pattern.
Not including will, because of course Patrice's one good stat is will, and these things were fucking made for Patrice. So,
well, and also you don't just have a will test that you can just. There's no basic test that goes with will.
I mean, other than most treacheries, but yeah. You're right.
Yeah. These are super fun to like juggle around in Patrice.
You're like Steve Martin juggling cats. It's
These are also really good at helping Patrice with her weakness because you can just discard one to fight the guy and automatically succeed. So, yeah.
Beyond Patrice, obviously it's good there, but I have also found some success with, say, Rita or other survivors solo that they're just giving you a nice kind of versatility. And since it's only 1 XP, like, it's limit 1 per deck, so you might not see it every game, but you're also not sinking a ton of investment in it.
Mm-hmm. I've only used her in Patrice, and I've had a great time.
right.
Every single time. Once I got Miss Doyle out, like the amount that I could bounce these cats in and out of play, like throughout the turns, it was absolutely incredible. It felt like they never went away.
Barrel Roller in chat brings up Preston. Seems like also a very good include in him.
Yeah, for sure.
Less reliable because he doesn't have the access to his entire deck over the course of 6 turns. But
yeah. What about in Calvin? Because Calvin would get the base value plus his Calvin
plus his
bonus.
Mods. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have this in my current Calvin build, and yeah, it'd be good.
Thank you, Ian, for confirming. What a fortuitous discovery you've offered us.
Felt that one in my gut. Is this me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Fortuitous discovery. X costed event. Fortune and insight traded. Myriad keyword. X is the number of other copies of Fortuitous Discovery in your discard pile. Investigate. You get plus X intellect for this investigation. If you succeed, discover X additional clues at your location.
So this one, and again, I haven't played Patrice, but when I looked at when I looked at it, my first thought was, okay, this goes in Patrice. But I've heard that this is kind of a trap in Patrice. And when when I built other survivors, I've thought about including this, but I've always turned away from it. So I'm kind of wondering, what's your guys' experience with this? Where does this go?
I've played it in Patrice, and it has worked wonders.
Okay.
So, I mean, the first one, I basically don't play. The next one is basically pick up 2 clues, and you commit icons or whatever. The next one is you pick up 3 clues. Now, I was playing a 3-player game, so the third one is basically like clear your location.
Yeah.
As long as you can pull off the test. So I found it worked really well for me, and it was a standalone, and so I did have cornered in the deck. So like the first one was a
unexpected courage.
Yeah.
I have not played this one really at all, and it's mostly because I play a lot of solo, so there's not a big need to get like a bunch of additional clues at your location. So I think this is more so a kind of multiplayer card for me.
Yeah, I can see that. That's what I build solo primarily, and that's probably why I passed over this card.
I don't think it's good solo.
No. Even Patrice solo? No, because you still don't need the clues.
Patrice has other ways. Like, she uses her mystic ability, I think.
Right.
Like Sixth Sense. Doovies mentions in chat, Min, using eidetic memory grants you 1 powerhouse investigate per scenario.
That's true.
So you're getting +3 intellect, and you're discovering 4 clues.
That's pretty good.
Seems good. Yeah, seems okay. Combine that with some deductions and a fingerprint kit on Blood of the Altar. You know, just, hi, Silas.
If only you could use this with fingerprint kit.
Oh, you can't. Okay, well, deductions then.
Yeah.
Damn it. Yep.
Burn them fingerprint kits. Do we want to talk about the weaknesses?
let's talk super quick because
We can talk about him as one, I think, yeah.
Yeah, just the idea that we had multiplayer only ones, and the design space that kind of offered it. Do you guys have a favorite?
Narcolepsy.
Self-centered.
I think Narcolepsy is my favorite. Self-centered has the best art.
Yeah.
Just the guy stepping on the other, or the girl stepping on the guy's face.
Kleptomania also is really fun, too.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that is super
The
fun.
only one that is less fun and more a pain is your worst nightmare.
A pain for Sean.
Yeah.
Especially in an Iron Man.
Yeah. But the other three are really fun. I like the idea, like, I think, Scott, you mentioned it shortly after these were released, that, like, in a 4-player team, if you're not building with the same collection like you should, like the rules say, everybody could have narcolepsy and everyone could just fall asleep at the same time and then the game's over. I also heard a story about like kleptomania with Excelsior where Tommy had the murder weapon and then he was playing with Finn who had kleptomania, and so he stole the murder weapon from Tommy and was using it to kill people, and Tommy's like, don't, that's evidence. So these are really fun. I think these are as interesting as the campaign only ones that we got with what was that, TFA? Or no, was it TFA?
I think it was TFA.
That we got Doomed and Dark Pact, and like those were fun, but those were interesting, but these are just straight up fun, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like my favorite set of weaknesses in the game. It's just a fun design.
One thing I like about kleptomania, we discovered at Arkham Knights, if you klepto away someone's hallowed mirror, when that hallowed mirror leaves play, all the whatever the thing that hallowed mirror brings into your deck, soothing melodies, they don't go away. Oh, that was fun. But kleptomania, I had that in my standalone Patrice deck that I've been talking about, and that is terrible because when you get rid of kleptomania, you shuffle it back into your deck.
Oh gosh.
So Patrice is going to see that real soon. But yeah.
That's funny.
How are we feeling for energy? Do we want to go into the scenario? Because
scenarios.
Oh,
I think we can talk about them.
Scenarios.
I mean, what are we at? We're at 2 hours. Jesus.
We can lightly dust them, or we can.
We can
know
also
what?
shelve them
Push them
until
off.
we have all. Like we could do when we have all 4 of us again. We
Let-
can talk about the scenarios.
let's shelve them because I'm sure Sean would love to talk about them. We do have some patron questions left over.
Okay.
So let's grab a couple of those. First one is Chad Reaverman. Is the blood feud going to continue? It's been a while since a game show episode, and you guys need to win back the trophy. Well, if those cowards at Drawn to the Flame ever have the gusto to come back, then perhaps we will. But
Yeah.
the ball's
We'll
in
have
their
to think of
court.
a new game.
Ball's
like
in their court, man.
Newlywed game, or
They did mention I do listen to them just out of pity, and their episode where they had one of the Team Covenant guys on, I totally forget his name though. They actually explained. Frank actually said, "Well, yeah, we have this blood feud going on with the Mythos Busters, but we have the trophy right now, and if we just never play a game, we've won." So, Frank, we know
now
you're
we
dirty.
have to bait them.
I know.
It's sad because
you
we have
wanted
that
it-
trophy case in the office and it's just empty
Yeah.
because we made it
I
for
mean,
that
if we-
trophy.
If we promise like an unlimited baby buffet, I'm sure we could get them to show up.
I mean, I'm not gonna be the one to set that up, but I mean, if you have resources, I might.
I'll get my people on it.
Jeez.
Baby eaters be baby eaten. Ian, do you want to read the next one? Because I think you're probably one of the best ones to discuss this one.
Sure. This is from Nathan Early, and I've actually chatted with him on email about this question, but I can, in case anyone else is curious about this. So he was asking question. Well, it's 2 sets of questions. First question about Lord of the Rings. So I'm always torn to go buy Lord of the Rings LCG based on having played it years ago and the fact it is also a quality cooperative game by FFG. Should I take the plunge knowing I'm going to try to go buy and find everything, or stick to my 25 hours a day Arkham exposure? Um, I always feel nervous to give advice one way or another, because buying into Lord of the Rings at this point is, oof, I don't even want to know what the total
Multiple
price tag is.
thousands of dollars.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. And then you have the mini game of trying to hunt them down. I know they kind of phase
Mini-game.
in and out of print over time. That all being said, yeah, it's still a game I have a lot of fun with, and I think it offers something very, very different than Arkham. It's not like, oh, I'm going to get the same thing I do with Arkham, because it's a very different experience. I think it really comes down to, at this point now, do I go Lord of the Rings or Marvel? Because I think those games are more similar. Lord of the Rings and Marvel are more similar than Arkham is to either of those games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And even then, Lord of the Rings and Marvel are different as well.
And
so, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say really quick, because even though I have never purchased into Lord of the Rings, I played a fair amount. And Lord of the Rings strikes me as much more of a puzzle game, in that each scenario requires you to hit a specific combination or to get a specific set of actions. And maybe not specific, maybe that's not the right word for it, but each scenario demands a more specific, I'm using it again anyway, action from you, whereas Arkham necessarily doesn't. Like, Arkham scenarios each have kind of like a gimmick, but each investigator can usually, with a few exceptions, go about that gimmick however you want. Whereas Lord of the Rings, in my experience, you play a scenario a few times to understand what it's trying to do or what it's requiring of you, and then you build to respond to that. So,
yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I often tell people when they're trying to compare the two games is, and like decide which one they want to get, or just kind of comparing them in general, is that Arkham is much more of like this kind of campaign, continuous experience, building different decks, and you're probably going to have a chance with most of them, at least a chance.
right.
And Lord of the Rings is, like you said, it's a puzzle. It's a very difficult game, especially as you get into the later cycles, and a lot of times it's this kind of experience of you're going to lose your first couple games, maybe your first 10 games, depending on the scenario. Do you tweak your deck and try to see, okay, is this tweak going to work? Is this tweak going to work? No, this deck is just not up to it. Let me tear it down, build a new deck. Okay, I found the deck that can beat it. And that there's definitely a lot of enjoyment in that for me personally, to tweak and find the deck that's going to take it down. But it's a much different experience than Arkham. You don't really do that in Arkham because it is a campaign and because it's just not required as often to specifically tech against a scenario. So yeah, it just depends on what kind of card game player you are, what you're looking for in a card game. And the one thing I will say is I feel like Lord of the Rings is a game that really rewards you for how much time you put into it. It's not a very casual, friendly game like, oh, I'm just going to throw a deck together and play a good old game of Lord of the Rings. Like, it requires you to kind of learn the cards, to experiment with decks, and that takes time. So if you are willing to dedicate the time, then you can get some reward out of it.
And I think at this point, like you said, it's probably between, do I go Lord of the Rings or Marvel? Because I find that Marvel, well, one, you're just starting. Two, you don't have to buy multiple core sets. Three, it's all available because you don't have to go hunting it down.
It's a core set right now, yeah.
And it does feel like, Nick, what you said, like Lord of the Rings is a puzzle. Like, each scenario is very, very different. But I feel like Marvel right now, and obviously we don't have a lot of scenarios, it feels like you can take any deck and you're just like, I'm good at combat, or I'm good at thwarting, or whatever, similar to Arkham, where you can bring a combat deck versus an investigating deck, and you don't have to tweak it for the scenarios quite yet.
Right.
Whereas Lord of the Rings, like, there's just some, like, what was the Hills of Emondwyl? Like, if you brought a combat deck, where it's just, like, there's not a single enemy in the deck. So, good luck, have fun,
Yeah.
you know?
I could see...
And
I was just say I could see Marvel getting to eventually a place similar to Lord of the Rings, where it becomes a much more puzzly thing. Just looking at how the scenarios have played out so far, especially with like Ultron. But yeah, currently at least it is still very mix and matchy.
So while you guys were talking, I totaled it up. So if you bought 3 core sets, which you need, all the deluxes, all the expansions, and all the cycles, plus the standalones, like any Gen Cons like that, but not including Nightmare decks. So just basically the basic content, $1,605 American, US dollars. So yeah. And then a bunch of these are, Casey, lower than expected. I thought it was going to be over 2,000. But you know what? If you look at the Nightmare, like Nightmare will put that over 2,000.
Wow.
Just slightly over. It'll probably hit 2,000.
So much content for that game.
But a lot of it also, like you look at some of the cycles and stuff, like it's out, like there's a few that are out of stock. And man, that'd be tough to go back and find everything.
Yeah.
That would be, I don't know if it's worth it. If you have nothing. You know what I mean? Like if you're starting right now with nothing, I think you're better off trying to find someone's collection. If that's what you want.
Yeah,
I would
probably agree. Yeah, getting a big lot of cards is what you need, because it requires a pretty sizable card pool to get to a point where you're going to be competitive enough against these scenarios to not get frustrated, I think. Unless you're just going to try to go straight progression and just like slowly buy packs, but
yeah. All right, Nick, you want to read the last question?
Sure.
Knock these out. All right.
Also from Nathan Early, what are the top 3 cycles you would love to see after the Dreamlands? There hasn't been too much in the way of neutral investigators. Do you want to see more, or are you content to have the wacky investigators be the survivors? I think there's more room to play with neutral investigators, but I also think it's something that we don't. I'm totally fine. I would prefer if we don't see it too often. Like, I haven't been hankering for a new neutral, even now, 4 cycles after Lola. But I do like the idea. I think that we're open to having another one. I just think that you have to time it right. I definitely don't want to see a new neutral every cycle, or even every other cycle. I think that'd be too much.
Yeah, like maybe 1 or 2 more in the entire life of the game for me would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would actually be fine if it's only Lola forever too.
Yeah,
like
agreed.
I'm not really too bothered about getting another one.
Right.
I'm totally content to have the wacky investigators be survivor. Like that's what I love about survivors. Like every other class has their stat, right? Mm-hmm. Mystics, willpower, and Guardians, combat, whatever. And then you get through them, and it's like survivors. Well, they like on their hero card, God, too much Marvel. On their investigator card, it's not the stat up top that aligns with their color, it's the ability in the box, right? It's like, what messed up thing is going to be in this box this time?
Each survivor, each class has its own, and then each survivor investigator has their own primary stat, unless you're Calvin.
Yeah. And then all stats are both primary and not primary at the exact same time. Schrodinger stats.
Doovies in chat brings up that Charlie Kane is a contender for the next neutral investigator, and I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people say that Charlie Kane would be a good neutral. I don't disagree. Like, I think he works as a neutral, but I still, especially after seeing Preston, I still think Charlie is a rogue through and through. That's his first, that's his primary class. He is green. He is the color of money. And then his off class I don't know, anything but mystic. You know what I mean?
He's who I originally thought of when I was thinking of neutral, like, a couple cycles ago. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason I'm content with just Lola is because the classes are broad enough that it's actually hard to think of someone who just straight up doesn't fit. Like, right. Lola's special because she's a changeling, basically. But
so what about top 3 cycles you'd want to see after the Dreamlands? Innsmouth is always going to be top of the list, as is Mountains of Madness. Like, those are 2 of my favorite settings for Mythos related stuff. So
yeah, definitely Innsmouth. We need at least 1 sailing quest, Matt, please. Need at least 1.
Also, just to get Cthulhu in the game. Like, I'm honestly surprised. I'm happy, but I'm also surprised that we've gone this long without the Cthulhu campaign, because that kind of feels like that would be the I can't think of the word now, but like the flagship campaign for this game, you would think would be Cthulhu. But I'm also very happy that it hasn't shown up yet, simply because we've like remember how shocked we all were that we went to Carcosa as the second campaign, and how cool that was. Like, we're really kind of going around and exploring all the different elements of the mythos, which is awesome. So,
I don't. And this has been explained many times before by myself and others. I'm not super into the lore, right? So, like, when I hear the only ones I know of, the very few ones I know of, Mountains of Madness seems the most interesting. Like going to Antarctica, and it's just like these creepy, that one. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be a really fun thematic trip.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like the two ones I wanted to hit have already been claimed pretty early. Like Carcosa was top of my list. And then my second was, I want a Silver Twilight themed one, but they're never gonna do that. Then don't count out Matt, because then we got Circle of Death. Yeah. So with those out of the way, I'm actually not sure. I don't have any like burning ones other than Innsmouth and Mountains of Madness.
I was excited for Dreamlands, and so far it's turning out to be as cool as I'd hoped. The theming in these scenarios is amazing so far. So,
yeah, I'm actually not sure where else would be the big.
That's the thing, is like the
hitters.
The mythos is so big. Like, there's so much, especially when you go beyond Lovecraft even, and go to other authors. But so much of it, like, kind of revolves around the same few areas. You know what I mean? At least from my exposure to it. And I haven't read a lot of it. I've read a fair few of Lovecraft stuff, but not much beyond that. Oh, and Chambers, but not much beyond that. So as far as like settings, like, I think it'd also be really cool to have an entire campaign take place just in Arkham. And like what you could do around that. That was also really cool about TCU, was that it mostly did that. So
yeah. I guess if you think about it in terms of the ancient ones, which usually there's one kind of directing things. What are the big ones we haven't gotten yet? I guess Shub.
Shub.
If we
Shub would be cool.
If we went like a full campaign to Egypt, like Nyarlathotep.
Yeah.
Well, and he's kind of in Dreamlands, isn't he? He's been mentioned, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's in the story text.
One of the... Yeah, in the story text, and then we saw those enemies in the news article.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Ithaqua would be cool. And geez,
is that the one from Carnival?
No, that's Knidathqua or whatever. That's a made up one. That's a new one. Ithaqua, Trench, Casey brings up. Ithaqua from the one from Winter Winds. Yeah, that's from the campaign that I started and I'm still working on. But he's like the frigid, cold, like wants to cover the world in ice type stuff.
So he's Canadian.
There's the one from, I know this from Eldritch Horror more than anything. I can't remember the name, but it's the one, like some giant worm creature that destroys cities. I can't remember the name of it.
Shudmel, yep.
Shudmel, yeah.
Or Shudmel, I don't know. Yeah, I don't... there's so much, like, we're also getting Atlatnaka, I think, in Dreamlands, the spider, which is really cool. So...
Yeah.
I think what I'm learning from this is that there is a lot of territory yet uncovered. And therefore this game can go on for a very long time.
Yeah. I'm also fine with Matt just like going off the map and just doing some freaking weird campaign that's not anything that has been seen in Arkham Files yet. Like, I'm fine with that too.
I agree. Yeah, like the fact that Immortoth was totally made up, and also the first one, like that was a cool, almost like an icebreaker sort of thing, where like, okay, like we know that we're gonna get like custom or original stuff, and it's still gonna be good because Immortoth was cool. I'm paging through the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game book that I have just to see if there's any other. Like, we've got Azathoth. Some of these guys are not great. Like Daeloth, like who's that? Bokrug? Vast.
Now you're just reading off nonsense.
Right.
You're just reading stuff from your medicine cabinet.
Oxycontin? Like, what?
That one sounds tough.
Well, thank you to the patrons who sent in questions. If you want to send us in questions, join us on Patreon. You can then get into the special channel on our Mythos Busters Discord and send us questions there that we'll answer on the show. Tentacle time, really quick. I'm playing Hearthstone again, slightly.
So am I.
Okay.
Oh geez, I'm out of here.
Great tentacle time.
I haven't played Hearthstone since the Witchwood, which was like 2.5 years ago or something like that, 3 years ago. And then I heard how good Battlegrounds were, so I jumped back in and tried that, and now I'm playing pretty much all the modes.
Yeah, Battlegrounds is really weird. It's fun. Ian, it doesn't require a collection. You can just jump in and play.
Yeah.
So it's a weird drafting game.
Yeah, it's 8-player draft, and then you just go head to head against each player until there's only one left. It's really fun.
Yeah. Ian, your tentacle time.
It's good that it's short because I don't have much. Like I've been putting all my effort into my my game that I'm making with the goal of trying to get it ready for like external playtesting by the end of the year, which is like 2 weeks away. So I have not been playing or watching much of anything other than I finally started watching Watchmen. I'm like first 1 episode and a half into it. And yeah, it's good so far. I need to watch more to really like see where it's going and how much I'm going to end up liking it. But yeah, I'll report back in a few tentacle times when I hopefully have finished the season.
Ian, are you watching Mandalorian?
Yes, yeah. I have not watched the episode from today, but other than that, yeah, I'm up to date, and I am enjoying it a lot.
I think today was my favorite episode of the series.
Ooh.
So, there you go.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
I need to make some time to watch it.
This is episode/chapter 6 for anyone listening in the future.
So,
all right.
Face off, which is better, Mandalorian or Watchmen? Go.
I haven't watched Watchmen, so Mandalorian.
It's hard to compare like 6 versus 1. I need to watch more Watchmen.
6.
So Mandalorian. That's what I'm hearing.
I am not willing to commit yet. On our next Tentacle Time, we will be debating Episode 9 of Star Wars, because that should be out by
Oh my
then,
god,
right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god.
Man.
The Rise of
We have to have a
Skywalker.
Mythos bonus, finally.
Yeah.
If our Last Jedi discussions are any indication.
Casey says on next episode, Ian will have an opinion. I wouldn't bet on it, Casey.
Don't count on it, Casey.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Lots of ways you can get in contact with us and do stuff. Again, if you want to visit our merch store, mythosmerch.com. If you're on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. It gets us up there so other people can find us. We haven't talked about this lately, but we still have the Mythos Busters hotline if you want to call in and we'll play it on the show. It's 203-493-MYTH. It's 203-493-6984. And if you go to our Facebook page and click on the little phone thing on your phone, it just dials that number. Email us, mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. We're at mythosbusters on Twitter. We're facebook.com/mythosbusters. Discord.me/mythos. Basically type in Mythosbusters into into Google, and you will find us. And we're on Spotify now, so if you enjoy that for your podcast. This has been episode 73, Mythosbusters. We'll see you guys next time.